you want me to push it back? Okay.
Totally, it's just, you know. Good morning. I am here with Anna Choi. Would you like me to read your quote here? I think it's really good.
Sure.
So being an entrepreneur is not for the faint of heart. It takes guts, grit, and resilience in the face of no agreement. So true. Anna is fiercely committed to empowering the next generation of mission-driven leaders. She helps social entrepreneurs and conscious companies get more clients through business coaching and marketing consulting. Transform our economy from being solely profit-driven to an economy based on the triple bottom line of people, planet, and profit. Anna sold her first business, InsideOut Investing, a socially responsible financial planning practice, in 5 years for double what it was worth. She built the business from scratch with no connections, no investments, and no money as a broke college art student, grossing six figures by age 23. Nice. She brings 13 years experience as a mission-driven entrepreneur, working with social enterprises, Washington Technology Industry Association, University of Washington, Impact Consultancy, Good Funds Wealth Management, Now Natural Investments, and more. Anna has coached over 300 mission-driven leaders, completed over 6,500 hours of professional growth, training, and development, and invested tens of thousands of dollars in marketing and business coaching programs to create her signature energy management system, a 6-element approach to energize client flow. As founder of TEDx Bellevue and Creativity Symposium, she's organized over 250 plus social impact events in the last decade and is one of 190 global leaders on faculty as a leadership trainer for a $90 million social enterprise. She is co-chair of Social Enterprise Alliance Washington State Board and a member of Women's Funding Alliance Together Equal Network Board. And his proudest accomplishment is water birthing her son, Eli, who is now 5 years old. Kindergarten? Yeah. Awesome. Yay. She married her best friend, Leo, celebrating 15 years together, and lives in North Seattle. You may also see her face on billboards, trains, or BECU commercials, which I think I see you like every time I drive over the First Avenue South Bridge. You're right there.
Now I'm looking.
So today she is going to help us with some productivity hacks and speaking on mastering the art of your calendar. So thank you very much, Anna, for being here.
Thank you. So first, when you hear the word time management, what's the first thing that comes to your mind? So go ahead and just raise your hand and say what comes to mind.
Stress.
Stress. Okay. What else?
The Covey method.
Covey methods.
Covey methods.
Okay.
Yes. Restrictions.
Procrastination.
Procrastination. Okay, good. Yes?
Impossible in real estate.
Impossible in real estate. Okay. Time management. It's right there.
Time blocking.
I was
Time
thinking
blocking.
the same thing.
Yeah.
Essentialism.
Essentialism.
Nice.
Priorities. Priorities.
Flexibility.
Flexibility. Interesting. Okay, notice nobody said joy. Fun. Peace of mind. I want you to set aside, and that's precisely what, by the end of this, I want you to start thinking in those terms of flow. So if you set aside what's already right there when you think of the word time management, I'm going to say a couple radical things. Ready? You can't manage time. What? Yeah, you can't manage it. So time is time, like air is air. Can't really manage air. Unless you're in China, maybe. You need a mask or something. But otherwise, you can't manage time. And here we talk, the term time management is interesting. So if you can't manage it, then how can you get overwhelmed by something that just is? Do you ever go down the street and be like, God, I'm just so overwhelmed by this air, or like gravity? Like gravity. I just keep trying to figure out how I can make gravity work. It's just gotta be more flexible with me. It's lunacy. So we don't actually focus on how it can flow inside of time. Because we made it up. You know, you cross the international boundary zone and you go from one day to another. We have spring forward and fall back. Have you guys ever wondered that?
Yeah.
As a kid, I'm like, what is this time thing? It's so arbitrary. It's just a measurement we created so we could actually go be at the same place, maybe at the same time. Okay, so if you can't manage it, but what you can manage is what?
So your response to time.
Your response to time, how you manage it,
How you feel it.
how you fill it. Yeah, the decisions that you make around it. So first thing I want to create as a foundation inside of time is, number one, you cannot tolerate any unworkability. And what I mean, oh, I have handouts for you, and you don't have them. You can pass those around. And yeah, I got that. So how many of you have ever found yourself resenting time and your schedule and your calendar when you're the one who created it? Who set that schedule? Oh, you did. It's crazy what we do. The overwhelm is nothing more than doing one thing, thinking you're supposed to be doing another. That's it. Now, the first foundation is do not tolerate unworkability. What I mean by that is if you ever find yourself resenting what you have in your calendar, how many of you have found yourself in that place? Like, oh, I don't like my schedule. Okay, good. If you aren't raising your hand, lying. Okay, good. So when you are in that place of resenting it, you come from, I created this, not like blaming yourself, but that there's only one force, that's you, that created it, responsible for it. Like it's not, you're not at the effect of, you switch from being at the effect of time to causing something, which is distinct from powering through, like some of us just keep trying to, do more and more and more and more. And so contrary to what the title of the talk sounds like, we're not going to be talking about necessarily productivity hacks or tips, but I want you to get centered with what really matters to you so that you can have flow. That's the end point I want you at by the end of today. Now, so number one is do not tolerate unworkability. And what that means is when you find yourself resentful, that you say no more, because typically the only reason you're resentful is because you're not what are the things that inevitably go out the door because you're so busy? What are the and that matter to you? What are those things?
Exercise.
The fun stuff.
Got a lot of exercise. Fun stuff. Yep.
Yeah.
Friends. Good.
Eating healthy.
Yeah, well-being. Gosh,
Yeah,
I think in America specifically, it might be worldwide. That's like one of the first things to go, which is weird. But anyway, good. So that's why there's resentment and everything, because you aren't tending to the other areas you know you need to be spending time on that matter. So when I say don't tolerate unworkability, I'm talking about don't tolerate that it's okay to get less sleep, that it's okay to just skip a meal or eat out or whatever that you do. It's okay not to spend time with your family or your friends. Like, you've got to be like, no, that's just as important as this. That's just as important as getting all this stuff done. Like, if no one can pee for you, right? So same thing here. No one can tell you that you've got to care about that. Only you can. So that's what I mean by that. The second thing is just to be 100% responsible for what you have now. You created. No other outside force did. And that'll shift you from victim to, I mean, we all know this. We don't live like that. We live at the effect of life. We have moments of that. Okay, so that's the first thing. Now, in front of you is a handout. And what I want you to start jotting down is what areas of life are the most important to you. Be working for you to be happy So rarely do we go through life looking for what makes me happy, and I really want you to look at that. So what fulfills you, what makes you happy, what are the things that must, and I use the word must intentionally, that must happen to be happy. Not would like to have to be happy, but must happen to be happy. To do that, you just list it out on your worksheet.
And if you're watching this, you can write down a list of areas that matter most to you that cannot be compromised. That if you were to not have them, you would become a dark cloud.
Okay, everybody have at least a few things down, and you can definitely take more thoughtful time after this to really be comprehensive about it. But for now, with the list that you do have, go ahead and rank it. So some of you may have already followed that next, but 1 is going to be the most important thing to you. If you I hate comparing a lot of times what your list is, all of them are important, right?
Right.
And I'm going to ask you to rank them anyway. 1 being the most important, and then on down. And go ahead and, if you can share, what are some of those areas that you guys wrote down? They cannot be compromised. Health, okay.
Good food.
Good food.
Family.
Family, yep.
Combining, feeding my family meals.
Yes. Got a lot of
I
food around here. I love it.
I
It's so
separate-
cultural.
I separate the spouse and children.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and actually, if you do have broader categories, feel free to break them down into smaller ones. So health could include both exercise plus eating, right? Or water or sleep. Same with relationships or feeding your families at the, maybe you go grocery shopping plus, or you just want to have a time all to sit down together. So if you break that down, treat each one separately as a ranking, what you would rank. So exercise might be number 1, for example, and then nourishing food might be number 2. Okay, does everybody have that done? Okay, perfect. So now what you're going to do is look at what you say is the most important thing, and then look in your mind's eye at your actual calendar And does that reflect, like if somebody, an observer, were to come look at your calendar and deduce, oh, this is the most important thing by where you spend your time, does that match up with what you say is the most important thing? And when I did this, I had my top 4 things of, I said it was my well-being, my family time, and then my work, and then my extracurricular, like I do a lot of leadership training and development. And then I asked my husband, because usually they can be more objective. Because I was like, yeah, that's what I do. No, denial. So I asked him, he goes, it's the opposite. It was the leadership training that was taking up all my time, right? And then work, and then family, and then well-being was last. So just try to be as honest as you can with yourself, or think from your partner, your best friend, or somebody who would know you, and what would they say where you're spending your time. And anybody notice anything? Is it the same or is it different? Same, good, awesome, okay. We have a range, right, from same to different. Okay, good, so that's what there is to line up for yourself. Now, how can you keep yourself accountable? So for somebody, so how many of you was it different? Just raise your hand. How many of you was it the same? Okay, well you, I'll start, you don't need to be here.
I think it depends on the week.
Yeah,
like, you know, like sometimes everything's very congruent.
Yeah.
My time increments spent on the priorities match, and sometimes they're just out of whack.
Right, and it does ebb and flow, right? So our goal here, and just not just for right now, but in your life, is that you are able to maintain a consistent energy flow. And I'd like you to consider that the top things that you say are important to you. Have you ever noticed when you do spend the time on nurturing yourself and having your time with your family, you are filled up, right? Yeah. There's a happiness and a joy there. That happens. So we want to keep centered on that. So rather than worrying about getting more done, we actually want you to be centered on what matters to you that you're fulfilling on. So you have an experience of happiness day to day and flow. And being that way actually attracts more people to your business. But that's a side note. So, okay.
That's a good side note. That's a good side note.
Oh, yes. The whole thing or just the last part?
No, the last little part about rather than getting more done.
You can first know, and I have identified, like you're doing right now, what is most important to you and what energizes you the most. So generally, I'm making the conclusion that what you say is number one most important, like meal times with family, makes you also happy. That's why it's important. So if you know, okay, these 3 things I must accomplish today. Like for me, it's like I have to spend time with my 5-year-old son, like present time, not just around him, but like being present. I have to eat well. I love food. And I have to do my spiritual time in the morning. Like I get all weird and ungrounded if I don't. So in general, those are like anchors for me during the day that for me need to get done, AKA like fulfill me to stay in flow. So you can start thinking from what will anchor me and have me be in flow and make me happy. What are those things to accomplish versus like all the other commitments and the things that we try to just go faster and work harder to get done. And it doesn't have to take a lot of time even, but most people don't think necessarily in those terms when they're in the mire of circumstances. So then you want to break down all those areas. So go ahead and pick just like, if you can categorize everything into like 6 to 8, maybe 5 to 8 categories overall. So you don't have like 20 things that are important to you, or just like 3 things, but kind of 5 to 8 is a good number. So take your list, make it 5 to 8 categories, and then with each one, put a goal that's specific and measurable. So I know I do yoga, right? I want to do that 2 to 3 times a week. That's specific and measurable, right? I know some of you might be a weekly date night, or you need at least 2 really nourishing meals, or you need at least 1 meal time together per day, or you need 8 hours of sleep, whatever it is for you.
watching, you can go ahead and take the time right now to follow along. And there's a handout as a link below that you can be using to follow along with the exercises. All right. More time? A minute? Okay, one more minute. All right, so go ahead and start to wrap it up. And again, you can continue to work on this when you get home. But congratulations, you all just created what I call your Mojo checklist. And Mojo is having flow, right? That energy, that fulfillment. And so on the other side of your handout, you'll see what mine is, like a version of it. As a template, but you can actually now create this as a daily, I recommend as a weekly of what you're actually getting accomplished and what fulfills you. So you would translate, like what's an example of one of somebody's, one thing that's important to them, their measurement of that. What did they come up with? What did you just list?
I did exercise 30 to 90 minutes a day.
Exercise 30 to 90 minutes a day.
Taking a walk for an hour at least twice a week.
At least twice a week.
Meditation 5 times a week.
Meditation 5 times a week. Good. So with those things, you would then put that under your Mojo checklist. And then when you're doing your weekly planning, some of us don't do that every week, but when you do, you start to actually map out your calendar based on your checklist. So you would walk 2 to 3 times. Normally that's like the thing that gets crammed in or not. But you start with the number 1. So for example, with my calendar, I have to look, oh, this is the other thing. You want to probably go over this with your partner, significant other, if you're in that situation, so that you can align on things, right? Because my husband was like, you need to put Eli to bed at least 3 times a week. So I can get my time. I'm like, okay, fine. So I like added that in, right? And he had some requests. So like he's like, I want like that. So once you align on that, then when I look at my calendar each week, I first put in my 2 to 3 times I'm going to yoga first. I then put when I'm putting Eli to bed, which means I can't do evening engagements for business. I then put in, date night, and then I have every morning my spiritual time. So all the well-being stuff is put in first, and then life must work around that. And then I have to have that no tolerating unworkability, right? Like so when everyone's like, when a client wants to meet or when some other demand comes at you, you have to be like, no, that's my time for me, or no, that's when I'm gonna have my date time. Having been somebody who's an overachiever my entire life, since like middle school, this has worked. It actually transformed my experience day to day because I went from trying to just cram in more, trying to accomplish more, which is most of what time management looks like, to having flow and being fulfilled. And then I was more productive for my business hours that I'm the same way I work when Eli's in school. So I could then accomplish more, be more concentrated, focused, because I know everything else is handled, my well-being stuff is handled.
Awesome.
So that's it. So anybody want to have, or any questions? We can go into questions.
That was awesome, Anna. Thank you.
It was
Yeah?
awesome.
Okay, good.
I read, so there's a book, a really great book called Mom's Mean Business that I think came out a couple of years ago. The co-author, one of the local authors lives here, and then the other one is a business coach in Michigan. But they speak a lot about this, like write down everything that is important to you and that you can't live without, and then looking at how your schedule aligns to that. And so it's great to have that reminder, because as I look at my list, you know, like health is number 1, 2, friends are number 3, fun is 3.5, and just kind of approaching your schedule with getting those things on your calendar. I mean, I have them in my head, but they're not on my calendar. And so I think getting them on your calendar is key. If it's on your calendar, then you can just do it and you don't think about it.
I mean, I was infamous for putting things on my calendar. I wouldn't do it, right? So that I just didn't. I had no relationship to my word. Like, what was in my calendar is what will go. But what I think is, so that's awesome that now just putting it down will allow you to actually have those things happen.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Thank
then,
you. That's great.
and the other piece of unworkability that I forgot to say is if you keep, like I was horrible with this initially. I kept saying, oh, I know I put this in my calendar, but I'm gonna skip yoga today. I'm gonna go do that business thing, or I'm gonna, you know, I kept compromising. If you keep tolerating something, that's what it looks like to tolerate something. All of this is pointless. This entire talk, everything is pointless. Like, don't even try. It's just not gonna work. I'll just tell you that up front. So it's only when I had to be like, no, I'm like really take that stand for myself. That's the moment it shifts. But if you don't have that to begin with, that's why I say it's a foundation. This is all pointless, and it'll just be insights that make no difference. Awesome. Any other questions? What are you guys taking away, or what are you discovering? Yep.
Well, I like that that last line, making your calendar in line with your word. The more you honor your commitments to yourself, the more you don't need to fill up on stuff to make do. And that includes all the stuff that right now on the calendar. So I like that. Thanks.
Awesome. Yes.
It just strikes me as something I read, I don't know where, but the message was something like, you know, when you keep compromising with your time, maybe I'm just making this up. I don't remember what I read. But anyway, the point is, when you keep compromising your time, it's very easy to not take responsibility. So you can say, God, I can't eat well today because I really have to do these 3 meetings, and I can't go exercise because I've got to, you know, do these other things. I have to clean house and order the fridge. And so it's, you know, you actually don't take responsibility for the decisions that you have to make for yourself. So you can stay in that victim mentality, which you talked about earlier, just saying, I'm a victim of my time management and my busy schedule, my crazy life. But in actual fact, it is kind of the sign of maturity when you can own your time and say, my yoga is very important and that stays on my calendar. And I'm not going to take it away to have that business meeting and then blame them that I couldn't go to yoga because this is more important. So it's this very subtle little shift, but as I was reading it, that's what it sounded like. I'm not sure I'm using the right words, but that sounds to me similar to what you were just saying.
Yeah, totally. Absolutely. Well said.
And what I said when you asked what comes to mind when you think of time management, essentialism, I just read a book recently called Essentialism. I'm blanking on the author's name, but it ties into this perfectly. And I venture to guess that all of us say yes to so many requests, be it for our children or our spouse or our work. And every time something's asked of us, I'm trying to practice lately. And is this essential? Does this mirror match, you know, my core necessities, my values? And just catching yourself before you fill up that calendar. Everyone's busy. We choose to be busy, but do we need to be as busy as we are with as many things and commitments?
Right. It's like we're addicted almost.
Yeah.
And what would it be like to, you have to be uncomfortable. It'll feel uncomfortable initially to move into that space.
Yeah.
And to be, the other piece that I really took away from this book that ties in is to practice saying no in a really honest way. Like, no, not making up an excuse, but I'm choosing to, honor my yoga practice at this time, or I'm choosing to spend time at my child's school. You said, that does in turn probably elevate you in that person's mind and life.
And your word, it strengthens your word to yourself.
And by using your categories to guide you, what you're saying yes and no to. So you look at what's important to you, and if you're being asked to do something that doesn't align with those top 5, and then you can say no and feel good about it because it doesn't align.
And you can also change midway, just, continuing that thought of what you said, does this really align? Because I wanted to walk every day, and I don't have a dog, but I live in a neighborhood with everyone else having dogs, so someone said, oh, could you walk my dog? And I thought, that's perfect.
Yeah.
11:30 every day, it forces me to get off my ass, get outside, get your dog, walk. I didn't realize that this dog doesn't actually walk. I mean, 3 hours. 2.5 hours. I can't do it over here. So I take the dog, I put him outside, he doesn't walk. He rolls, he's like this tiny little thing with little itty bitty legs. And I don't know if that's why he doesn't walk, but come on. So I spend 20 minutes just begging him to come down 2 steps. And I think, oh my God. So then I have to say, I'm sorry. I really wanted to walk your dog because I wanted to walk and help you. And short of me putting him in a stroller, I am not going to be able to walk.
Oh, that's so funny.
So it's just, then being honest. Because, this just happened yesterday. And I called my mom and I'm like, oh my God, I can't let I want this damn dog.
It doesn't walk.
And it's just like, you have to say no. And I'm like, I can't say no. I said yes. And she's like, but you said yes to walk. You said yes, I can take the dog with me because I'm walking. Not, I can, take an hour out of my day and, rub your dog. I'm sorry. Because that doesn't fit with what I need. So there are so many little things.
Yeah, I love it. It's perfect. This is great. And what we can do next. So thank you very much. We actually have a sponsor for our speaker gifts. So Mindy, would you like to come up and share your little something with them?
I'd love to, and you may or may not remember me, but we met like 11 or 12 years ago at UWomen.
Yes.
Awesome to see you flourish. And so my name is Mindy. I'm with Arbonne. If you haven't heard of Arbonne yet, you definitely need to know about it. And it's a health and wellness company. We offer products basically for everything in your nutrition cabinet and your bathroom. Pure, safe, beneficial, formulated to European certifications. The part I love about Arbonne is the opportunity to help people grow and flourish and start their own businesses globally. So it is starting to get a little cold out. We're putting our heaters on. Using skincare, even though you probably don't need it. It's always got to be preventative. So there you go. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Cher.
Thank you so much, Mindy. And thank you so much, Anna. That was great and a good springboard for our group connection piece. So Mary Dee, I invite you to